Today we're talking webcam putting and how it can take your simulator game to a whole new level. Do you have a launch monitor like the Mevo Plus, the Garmin R10, or the MLM2 Pro where you don't get to experience putting with your golf simulation? Today I'm going to show you how a webcam can enable you to have the full simulator experience. So what is webcam putting? Webcam putting is using computer vision to track an object, and in this case, a ball, and we're able to get its speed and its horizontal launch angle. We then send that into the simulator software, and the results are incredibly real. Okay, so let's take a look at my setup here. Here's my room. I've got putting turf that's flush up to a hitting mat. It's a Sig Pro Softy hitting mat, 2 3/8 inches above the ground. It's raised. I putt from the center of the hitting strip to that hole in front of me. That's sort of my alignment to show me the direction for hitting. It is not perfectly centered. It's slightly off center. The webcam I use is actually only 30 frames per second. I had a 60 frame per second, but I took it down to use it for content, and I'm using a 30 frame, and I have no issues with that. This is a Logitech 1080 Pro Stream, and I'm using it at 1080, 30 frames per second. I've got it mounted to a bracket. Actually, it's a bracket that I took off of a lighting fixture just to suspend it away from the projector. I wanted to mount it in front of where I putt so that it wouldn't be straight over my head and have my head cast a shadow or cover the view of the ball. And then I wanted it as close to the center line of my sim as I could. So I got it close to the center, sort of near the projector was a good spot. And then it allowed me to run my cabling up through the ceiling where the rest of my cabling goes over to my computer. Now, one thing to note here when you run your cabling, first of all, you need USB 3.0 and C or A. They are the connection type. What you need is the speed of at least 3.0, or I think it's 3.1 or 3.2 now is what it actually is, the updated versions. Usually they're blue in connector. And when I first did it, I'm about 20 feet of cable from my computer to here when I run up through the wall and to the projector area. I hooked three 12-foot USB 3.0 cables together, and I was just getting a static signal. And what I realized was you can only run so many feet before you've lost both signal and power to the camera. So when I took out that third extension and went back down to 24 feet, I then had enough power and signal to run it. Now I'll show you here. I've got it mounted at, I think it's 10 feet 7 inches, 10 feet 7 inches from the putting surface. So it's fairly high. And then I don't have it on its widest angle view when I use it in the ball tracking. I have it kind of narrowed a little bit because I didn't want to pick up too many extra things and have misreads. I'm 10'4" from sort of where I feel like center putting, or where I putt from most times, to the black, which is right behind my cup. So I feel like that's about a 10-foot putt, and I kind of gauge my speed off of making it in that cup in front of me. You'll see that upcoming in the video. Now here I'm just showing you can mount it to the wall, and I used to have mine mounted to the wall pointed down like this. And what I would do is I would take a night light and plug it in the wall, and it would light up just that area, and I could keep my room nice and dark and not wash out my projector, but it would light up my putting area, and that worked really well. I just wanted to move to putting where I hit from, which is what I ended up doing. But if you need a solution where you can't mount it overhead, mounting it on the wall is a great option, and it worked really well for me. You'll see it in my very first video I ever put out about the connector. Long, slow video, hard to watch, but I'm actually putting with a perfect putting mat against the wall. So that's kind of how I have mine set up. It's directly mounted overhead, and it runs straight to the computer. Okay, so what do you need? You need a webcam, 30 frames to 60 frames per second. I'm using a Logitech Pro Stream 1080, which gives me 30 frames per second at 1080, and it works wonderfully for me. I also have a Logitech Brio 4K that I'm using for content right now that gave me up to 60 frames per second at 720, and that worked even better. I've seen people using the Razer Kaios and all kinds of different cameras out there. Pretty much any webcam that gives you 30 frames per second is going to work, and that's most all of them. The other thing you're going to need to make sure you have is USB 3.0 extension cables. People are using USB 2.0 and they're wondering why it doesn't work. You need 3.0 for the transfer speed of 5 gigabyte per second or higher, as well as powering the webcam. I ran into issues when I got beyond 20 feet of extension cable. So make sure that you do not have too much extension cable running from your camera to the computer, or you could have signal loss and power loss. The last thing you'll need is a place to mount it. You can mount it on the wall, on a chair, on a tripod, on the ceiling, anything that's overhead or relatively overhead. You can be slightly to the side, and that will allow you to set up your mask and your settings and get your putting going. Okay, I have one quick setting I will go through. I'm not going to go through all the rest. I have videos out there, and that is, how do I get my camera identified? People have had trouble finding out which camera ID is theirs, and I'll show you inside the connector really quick to go over this. And what they're talking about is up here on the settings menu where you've got the camera number. They're looking for this camera ID number, and which one is my camera? I can't find it. The video sources works only sometimes, and it also stalls out. What you'll do is just go through here and pick your start at 0 and start working your way up. I'll pick 2 and I'll hit close, and we'll just start the webcam putting. I know mine's 5, so this shouldn't work, but it's going to pull up number 2 in my camera list. This is a virtual camera that has nothing displaying on it right now, so you just see a black screen. So I'll close out of that, and we would go in here, hit stop, go to settings, and try the next one. You likely won't have 7. You'll have 0 to 3 probably. I try number 3, number 4, and then eventually, as I save and I try the 5th one, it's going to pop up and it's going to work, because webcam number 5 is the one that I have mounted for my webcam putting. Okay, so let's jump into some of the demonstration. What I would recommend is, once you get everything mounted, you go into GS Pro practice facility, and we're going to need to dial in our speeds. And so coming up here, you're going to see me dialing in the speeds. I putt from 5 feet, 10 feet, 30 feet, show you a side hill putt, and we'll go over what webcam putting looks like and how to dial in the speed using the radius setting inside of the webcam putting app. Let's check it out. Okay, so we'll start by hitting a few putts. Checking speed. It's a 5-foot putt. Should have pulled it. Speed feels pretty good. And what you'll notice here is I'm just hitting 5-foot putts to test both the alignment, left and right, and my speed and the feel of speed. My distance from where I putt to the cup is about 10 feet. So I'll try to leave one short. This one's about the perfect speed. I'll try to leave one short. Yep, was able to do that. And we'll try to hit a 5-footer way long. This is about 12 feet, and there it goes, about 12 feet. Now we'll move to 10 feet. And at 10 feet, I should just roll one in the cup in front of me. It should fall in on the screen. There we go. Okay, so let's take some 30-footers. This one's got some break to it, so we want to hit it kind of out to the right. Smashed it. Now let me show you what happens when you change the radius on these putts. So if you go into your app and you hit the A key, we change the radius to, say, 2, and then I save it. You see how that ball just took off? So that ball is cruising. Now, conversely, if I go and I change the radius to, the radius we're talking here, it's estimating it to be 6. Let's say that I change the radius to 12 or 10. Now we've got the radius set at 10. Let's try to hit one. The ball, it didn't go anywhere. Let's go back and we'll hit A, and we'll bring that radius down to 4 for me right now. So let's take a putt with a little bit more break to it. Like, we can either aim the mouse and putt straight and have our aim start us left of the target, or we could just putt to the side as if it were sort of a real feel to the golf course. There we go. How awesome is that? Webcam putting is incredible. It feels so real and it just changes the whole experience. If you're out there with a Mevo Plus or a Garmin R10 or a MLM2 Pro and you haven't tried webcam putting, you've got to. Go out there and get you a webcam, get it set up, and take your whole simulator experience to the next level. I want to thank everybody for watching. Please subscribe, like, comment, send me questions, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.